from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. That New York City mayoral debate was something. Boy, talk about a bunch of low cards in that hand. I mean, I like Curtis Sliwa, but he doesn't have a chance, and so it comes down to the avowed Marxist Mamdani and handsy Andy Cuomo, who was a disaster as governor, and particularly during the pandemic, something, by the way, that Mamdani seized on.
To him, but to work with him if it means delivering on lowering the cost of living for New Yorkers. That's something that he ran his presidential campaign on, and yet all he's been able to deliver thus far has been prosecuting his political enemies and trying to enact the largest deportation program in American history.
You know, if you come after New York, you know what I'm going to do. You know it's going to be ugly. And, you know, my chances are almost 50-50, even though you're the president. I'd like to work with you. I think we can do good things together. But number one, I will fight you every step of the way if you try to hurt New York.
Yeah, okay. The big tough talk from both of those clowns. That was obviously in reaction to, will you work with Trump or not? And you get the same tired rhetoric that you get from all these big city mayors and blue state governors. We're very familiar with it. On police, this was an interesting exchange. I mean, at least Sliwa forced himself into the conversation from time to time.
The difference between me and the assemblyman is he doesn't like the police. That's why he won't hire more police when everyone else says we need more police. He wants to use social workers on domestic violence calls, which are very dangerous. And he's told you what he thinks. He thinks the police are racist, wicked, corrupt, and a threat to public safety.
Thank you.
Those are his words.
Very quick. Mr. Mamdani, very quick.
Look, Andrew Cuomo is a politician of the past, and all he can speak about are the tweets of the past in 2020. Those are tweets which I have apologized for to New Yorkers and police officers directly, and they are not what I am actually running on.
No. That's what I believe. I'm just not running on it anymore. Yeah, we're familiar with it. Just like I'm not running on being an anti-Semite, pro-Hamas sympathizer. Yeah, no, we got that. The problem, of course, is that, you know, again, Andy Cuomo moralizing about the New York City police. Well, I mean, this is a guy who was an apologist for the Black Lives Matter goonery back 5 years ago. 4, 5, 6 years ago. But I got to say, the back and forth and the Cuomo trying to make some points. The two tells this week from Mamdani that I thought were really interesting. I mean, not that this is particularly revealing. He has made very clear who he is, even if he's walking away from tweets and previous positions. Mamdani's litmus test for Andrew Cuomo. This is where he went after Andrew Cuomo in terms of, you know, being a mayor for all the people, sort of.
You know, it took Andrew Cuomo being beaten by a Muslim candidate in the Democratic primary for him to set foot in a mosque. He had more than 10 years, and he couldn't name a single mosque at the last debate we had that he visited. And what Muslims want in this city is what every community wants and deserves. They want equality and they want respect. And it took me to get you to even see those Muslims as part of this city. And that, frankly, is something that is shameful and is why so many New Yorkers have lost faith in this politics.
Yeah, you're not going to get to the left of Mamdani when it comes to identity politics. And the other piece of it was, I mean, you know, he said he's going to keep cops at the same level. Brandon Johnson said the same thing when he was running. He's just going to make it just a dismal job to perform, which will create organic attrition on the force. That's what will happen under Mamdani. I bet dollars to donuts on it. And then also just in terms of his everything is free and we're just going to tick up the city income tax a point or two on the rich and we're going to tick up the corporate tax to be equivalent to New Jersey's corporate tax, and that's how we're going to fund all these giveaways like free bus rides. But this is really good. The basis for the free bus rides, among the rent subsidies and everything else that he's going to give away at somebody else's expense. But the basis for the free bus rides.
I think it's one of the key reasons why we have to make buses free is because it reduces the assaults on bus drivers. It creates a safer work environment.
So if you want people to stop assaulting bus drivers, you just make it free. Well, sure. I mean, we could apply that to society writ large. I mean, if you want people to stop stealing, just decriminalize stealing. You just make it free. I go to my jeweler friend and say, I want that watch. And so it's free. Zora Mamdani's paying for it. Well, then we don't have to get into an argument. I don't have to smash a window and grab it and run. Just make everything free. And then it stops all the uneasiness and discord in the city. I mean, and listen to this. It goes on. 44% that they did a pilot program. The pilot, this is the story. The pilot firstly dramatically increased ridership. Oh, if something's free and you have oversubscription or an increase in consumption, what a shock! Yeah, I took an Econ 101 class too. The pilot firstly dramatically increased ridership across all 5 fare-free bus lines. The MTA reported a 30% increase in ridership on weekdays and 38% on the weekends, with 23% of riders reporting that they made the trip because it was free. Only 23. It also provided clear economic relief to low-income riders. 44% of riders took the free bus for errands and leisure, allowing them to more freely contribute to the New York economy. Oh, it's growth. It's a growth-oriented policy. Right, because the folks who are not paying $2.90 for a bus fee are now free to invent the next competitor in the race for AI supremacy. I mean, it is really something to watch this play out. I mean, I could pretend to be aghast, but I cover Chicago and Illinois, so this is just sort of very much in keeping. For more on the topic of this race and its implications, pleased to be joined by Wei Hua Chin, adjunct fellow at the Manhattan Institute and founding president of the Chinese American Citizens Alliance of Greater New York. Mr. Chin, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me here.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Chin. Sorry. So your take on the mayor's race and what transpired last night, and whether or not you think that is going to in any way alter the outcome.
So far, the debate last night would not change much the dial. There's not much that has changed from that, but I think that it was a good start. Mamdani did not do anything that hurt himself tremendously, but he still showed that he had no experience whatsoever. He's
never had a job. That was the point Cuomo made. Yeah.
No.
That's the definition of no experience. Yeah.
That's right. I think that Cuomo, in fact, I mentioned last night that the only job he had was an intern for his mother. This is a Nepo baby, okay? This is a person who talks about taking away all sorts of property, seizing the means of production, all these Marxist terms, but of course he himself lived a very, very nice life of luxury. His mother running around with Hollywood money, celebrities. They have a Uganda property. So, a person who believes not in property has himself a very nice large tract in Uganda, and his father was a professor at Columbia. They're extremely well off.
Yeah, a Marxist professor at Columbia. Is there any other kind? And of course, the chalet they have in Uganda allows him to identify as an African American.
Correct. So you may know that he did check off that box when he was applying to college at Columbia, in fact, and still didn't get in. So, and with his father there too. So this is unfortunately a person that has not done very much. And believe the man, for his history, the things that he has tweeted, the things that he has said, his giving Columbus statue, all sorts of
the finger.
bad press.
Yeah, right.
That's right. Wanting to tear it down. This is not a uniter. He is a divider.
Well, so this comes to pass, and I assume the city council is similarly oriented to Mandami, at least in terms of trying to soak the rich. They don't seem to understand that the rich are mobile. Cuomo tried to make the point that the taxes he's proposed to fund the programs he's proposed will have New Yorkers heading down to the Sunshine State. But, so do we expect a period where New York City was coming out of the pandemic and starting to do better? Now that is going to be reversed, assuming that Mamdani gets elected next month.
And there's a lot of concern. I think that you hit it on the nail there. A lot of people are talking about moving out, maybe temporarily, maybe for longer because of the taxes, because of also the crime. And his policies don't really make a lot of sense. When you mention the free buses, where is the sense behind it? Because they're losing so much money already with the Transit Authority, what we call the MTA over here. To have that in addition really does not help the economy. Mamdani also says that he wants by 2030 to nearly double the minimum wage for New York. And he doesn't think about what does that cost. You could legislate everything under the sun. In fact, you could try to legislate sunshine, but it doesn't happen just because you legislate it.
Yeah, the buses thing is so he's getting more ridership. So that may reduce the assaults on bus drivers, but it'll probably increase the assaults on New Yorkers beating up each other. I mean, I think of like if we made the L free in Chicago. Well, you'd have more ridership and you'd have more associated crime because that's just part of what's happening in the city. And I know the New York City subway system. I mean, it's the subway, it's not the buses, but the New York City subway system has had a problem with crime as well.
Yes, it has. In all these decades, I think since the beginning of when they first opened the subways over 100 years ago, they never had barriers on the platforms, because they were never afraid of people being pushed onto the tracks. And you might have somebody fall once in a very, 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 very rare occasion. But what happened in the last several years, you had many more incidents of people being pushed onto the tracks. And so now you're finding a lot of the platforms are having these barriers that are put on there to impede people from falling in. Let's call it falling in, but the real concern is being pushed because they never needed this for over 100 years.
So, okay. I mean, it's always interesting to talk to people who come from oppressive countries that are authoritarian or totalitarian in terms of their culture. And so that would include you coming from China. And, because usually they're the kind of people that can give, ignorant Americans some perspective on, you go down this road of serfdom here with these sorts of centralized policies and command control politicians, and you are going down a very dangerous road that has a very unhappy ending. And so I just wanted your perspective on that vis-a-vis New York.
I think that's absolutely true, because if you have free this, free that, it only means that everybody doesn't get anything. You want to equalize everybody, you equalize it to the bottom, not to the top. And when you talk about the government stores, you may have heard about that too, because government stores, freeze the rent, your free buses, free childcare, everything is free. But they never think about who's going to pay for it, how is it going to be paid for. So people are, as you said, leave the city, and then what happens to what remains? The stores. Think about a government-run store. Okay, I can't really imagine how that is a good thing. A government store, you could just imagine how good the service will be, how good the products will be, how large a variety will be. And what happens in socialist countries, communist countries, you get on the lines, okay? You cannot get the products that you want. Instead, it's basically a rationing society. And so until the countries become non-socialist, they do not have the products and services that the people want. You could see that in China. It did not happen that they had the quality of life that was there in the 1930s, actually, until something like the 1980s, because of all the policies that had happened in the socialist, or it's not socialist, but it's communist. But you think about all of the policies in every single communist country. None of them had a good quality of life materially, and then also as far as the other parts of free speech, the ability to achieve things. That's not going to happen here. Having free speech, they talk about it that, oh, well, it cannot possibly happen here. But there are ways of determining that if you do not follow certain policies, then later there will be a lot of the rights that you thought would be available that won't be. It's the same thing that's happened in on the campuses. You talk about Mandani being anti-Semite. Well, that is part of it. When people have different thoughts and opinions, you start allowing the pro-Hamas people to stop Jews from being able to go to class, Jews from being able to express their opinion, and being pretty much harassed and obstructed from their own lives that they're supposed to have right in the campus that they paid tremendously to be in.
Yeah.
So we could expect that.
Yeah, I mean, I think the greatest moment in the debate last night was the recognition that Mamdani lives in a rent-subsidized apartment. So he's this person of privilege who's never had a job. He lives in a rent-subsidized apartment that's supposed to go for lower-income people. I mean, so she's just a poster child for the intersection of all the bad thinking and the bad policies that resulted from the bad thinking in New York City. I mean, it's just perfect. She is Wei Hua-chin, adjunct fellow at the Manhattan Institute, founding president of the Chinese American Citizens Alliance of Greater New York. Ms. Chin, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
And she joined us on the Turnkey.Pro answer line.
Hear about the big stories of the day, then talk about them right here on Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
The guru of gutter protection himself, Chris Cunahan, president of Leaf Filter, gets a lot of interesting calls to his office when folks are ready to tackle their gutters.
Hey, everybody, Chris here. I understand we have Ron on the line. Ron, where are you calling from?
Uh-oh.